today in our program, we'll be talking to Sidney Mpofu, who is an industrial engineer. Sidney will be talking to us about his idea or his dream to invent an engine that does not use combustive fuel. So in other words, it's an engine that will not need petrol or diesel, which sounds like a very great idea at a time when the world and everyone else is complaining about the cost of fuel, and everything rises because the cost of fuel has gone up. So we want to know from Sidney at what point did he come up with this idea, and how do we make this idea a reality? Mpofu, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Ndebele.
Yes, maybe briefly tell me about your background. How do you end up in the engineering space?
Oh, okay. I'm from an automotive background. I did apprenticeship in 1994 to 1998 with Delta Distribution. Then it was Delta Distribution, which is now called Delta Beverages, but it's Delta Transport Services. Yeah, they call it Delta Transport Services, though it's Delta Beverages as a whole. So from that time, I was absorbed into the system, into the Delta system. So I worked for Delta from if I include the apprenticeship time, it was from 1994 up to 2004 when I decided, no, okay, look, I think I've had enough. And besides, during that time, 2004, if you remember, we had started to have issues with the economy, such that being employed wasn't actually paying so much. So I looked at the situation and said, with the skill that I have, I think I can be able to stand on my own, see what I can do as a man. Because ideally, I was saying, for anyone to succeed in life, you have to be able to stand on your own and see what you can do that can, take you up to another level. If you're always employed, you don't actually have this feeling of responsibility to say, okay, look, I need to expand, I need to do more. You are comfortable because you are getting a monthly salary. So I said, no, look, let me try and do things on my own. So I did that. Then 2004 to 2009, I was doing my backyard business, as you can see what I'm trying to do here. Fixing clients' cars, individual clients will come and, I would assist them. Then in 2009, I decided, no, look, while I'm doing this, because I'm getting old, but I need to find a way of expanding my business and, helping out on my children to create a generational wealth. So I said, no, look, I think what is going to give me an advantage is going back to school. So I went to NAST to do industrial and manufacturing engineering, so which I did and completed in 2014. So I graduated 2014 November. So that's how I ended up in the, or that's how I got into the engineering space. Yes.
Yeah. So at what point did you then say, I have this idea and I think I can change the way things are? Because this is quite a novel idea.
Okay. After graduation, like I said, I graduated in 2014, but in 2015, I got diagnosed with cancer, which is called multiple myeloma, which is cancer of the bones, bone marrow, and the blood. So I got sick. I couldn't practice, my engineering. However, as I was on my sickbed, this, I believe, it was an inspiration from God. God just gave me this. you know, I would, when on my sickbed, I would, you know, find that I would spend sleepless nights, you know, having these ideas. Because during that time, you'd also remember, I think it was 2015, 2016, 2016 should be, we are having fuel crisis here in Zimbabwe, serious fuel crisis like we had before. So, you know, I was having these ideas of, then how can we have people, you know, being mobile, even in a crisis like this one where there is no fuel. So this is then where I got these ideas to say, okay, from the background that I have, the engineer background and the motor vehicle industry that I'm coming from, I saw this opportunity where you can actually tweak a few things on an engine that is using combustible fuel, so that we take out this fuel which causes global warming, which has got a lot of fumes from it, and use compressed air to drive the engine. So it actually gives us a green type of fuel to
Green
use.
energy.
That's green energy, yes, to use on our vehicles. And you know, the ideas that were coming were ideas such that, you know, I didn't need to start up, you know, with something that is new, totally new, but tweaking what we have, because for an engine to run, you have to drive what is called a piston. A piston is pushed by the pressure that you create within the cylinder. If you then that pressure is high enough, or you increase that pressure, you are actually increasing the amount of force that you are applying onto your piston, which will turn the crankshaft. The crankshaft then it sends that power to what we call the flywheel, and then the drive lines. So the issue here is just saying, okay, the one who invented these combustible vehicles used this fuel that burns, but we can still use different fuels, which is in my case, I feel that using compressed air is one powerful advantage, because compressed air as it is in abundance. You don't have to buy air. All that you need perhaps is just to find a way of converting it to compressed air, that which then will translate to having to find something that is called a compressor that will compress the air, and then you push the air into the pistons, and then it drives that. So if then that system works, imagine Mr. Ndebele, if that system were to be functional and you operate the way I am seeing it and the way I've tried to design it, we are actually saying we are eliminating the cost of fuel, which is the bulk of the running costs of, you know, running a fleet of cars or a fleet of trucks. And even in the for the economy, imagine we are using so much transport goods and things like that. So if we are eliminating that, how much saving are we going to make in the industry and as a nation? And we are saying people are now able to, you know, to move around, to be mobile without having to spend so much. Because now, if you want to move, you have to think, do I have the fuel money? You know, but if you are using something like air, it's just there are two things to it. It's either the compressed air can be filled in like we do with fuel in the fuel stations. But even if it's being filled in the fuel stations, it won't be as expensive, because I'm saying there's no one who is buying air. It's simply maybe buying a compressor which is going to compress that air, then you keep it in big tanks, then you just fill it in a tank which will be like the fuel tank in your car. Then from there, you simply drive your engine and move around. Then when it's done, you go and fill again. Or you have it self-contained in your vehicle. You can have a tank where you can fill externally, and have one that will have a compressor within the car that was going to be driven by that is going to drive the compressor, which is going to be driven by some say a motor or something like that. You can find an electric motor that will drive the compressor. Put an electric motor, an electric motor will then be run by perhaps the battery and the electric system of the car. That will then be driving the compressor and creating your air, your compressed air, which you will then use on your engine. So that way.
So when we get to, I mean, we have the car, it uses air.
Yes.
So we'll do like with pumping wheels.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. Yes. Like you're pumping wheels. Yes, you fill in the pressure in your tank like it is in the wheels. And then that's the air that will be then going into the engine to push your pistons and then move them up. But the idea, because maybe that's detail that would be needed when I'm actually doing it. But that air, for it to be for one to be able to run for a long time, because we want to try and save on that compressed air, because as it goes into the cylinders pushing there, you are actually depleting what you have in your tanks. But we are saying you can save that which you have used and take it back, which is called looping back. You can loop it back into the system again, so that you can run with this compressed air for quite a longer time than you would with fuel, because fuel, there's no way you can loop it back. Once it's bent, it's gone. You just have to go and fill.
So your idea, you are not inventing a car.
No.
You are or an engine. You are modifying what is already there, sort of.
Okay. Yes, there are two issues. There is one way I'm modifying, because I'm saying we shouldn't just throw away the engines that we have at the moment. This is where I'm saying this is how these ideas were coming to say, okay, no, look, initially for this to be cheap and affordable, you need to find a way of tweaking what you already have, so that it's not like you are doing the whole engine, but there are certain components that you have to change in that vehicle so that you run it on compressed air. But there is another where I actually invented or came up with a totally different idea from the engines that we have. That one is set, it's drawn, everything is there. I've done it. It's only that I haven't done the prototypes. What is difficult now is getting prototypes done, because since we don't do anything in the manufacturing area in terms of vehicles here in Zimbabwe, it becomes now difficult, because it's a specialized area. For me to just have maybe something like fabricating a crankshaft, for instance, or a camshaft, or some gears and things like that, it really needs those who are in the automotive industry. Gears, yes, they can be done. Gears, we have engineers. There's one engineer who is trying to help me with some gears at the moment. But as for the crankshafts and stuff like that, which I also need to tweak, I've tried several places. I've even tried China. I've even tried, you'll be surprised, I've also tried India and South Africa. It's quite difficult.
So it's difficult in terms of doing it, or it's difficult in terms of cost?
It's difficult in terms of cost. Doing it is not a problem. They can do it, but you're coming up with a mold. And when I'm doing a prototype, I just need one unit. Imagine the Chinese are doing a mass production. Even the Indians, that's what they are doing. Everyone who is going to be manufacturing this, will consider that it's going to be taking his time, where he was going to be able to do bulk of these things, but I just need one. Then these guys are saying to me, look, if you just need one item of each where you want to tweak, it's costing us. So there's no way we can shoulder that cost except by pushing it back to you. But if you were maybe talking about big numbers, like saying you are making your order and you are saying, okay, I want 1,000 of these, we are going to be able to manufacture for you. But if you are saying you just need one, it's quite difficult. It's either they just go silent, or they will say, for one item we're not doing anything for one item. It has to be 1,000 or above. And but in South Africa there's a company which agreed to do one part for me, and they said no, because we are going to be doing the mold first, and a lot of other things that we're going to be doing, then come up with your part. For instance, the crankshaft, we will need 50,000 rands before tax. So it means already I'm just
about 70,000.
I'm just looking at one part. Imagine, but there are several other things that I need to tweak on that engine. So the challenge really is getting the finances to do that, because I was saying, okay, look, let me try and do it on my own, because for me to be able to engage other people, they'll need to see something, at least visualize what is happening, which means I will need to have a prototype. But now for me to come up with that prototype, because it's been years now since I've been trying to do this. I think I started, I did my documents, that was 2016, 17. From there, that's when I started doing them. But up to now, I haven't been able to do the prototype, because even if I try, places here and there, I'm not getting the assistance that I'm getting, because they need money, one, two, they need bulk orders. And for me to be able to do this, you know what I'm doing? I'm taking one engine. For instance, you see this small car there. I'll be looking maybe like that Vitz engine. If I take that Vitz engine, I'm saying, okay, for the Vitz engine, these are the things that I'm going, because the modifications are not the same for every car. It depends on the design of the vehicle. So I'm looking at that one, then I do what I do on it. So I will need spares for that one, and the specifications are different. When I look at, for instance, a BMW, this one, it will have a different thing altogether. That Nissan truck, it will have a different thing altogether. So then someone says, if we are going to be doing just for you'd rather be having maybe a lot of those bits that you want to tweak, but I can't do it at one go, because I have to do one first, so that I see how it needs to be adjusted and all those things done, and see how it then operates. From there, then I can be able to say, okay, now if it's working well, it's working this way, then we can do several of them. And in that situation, I'm looking at a situation where I'm saying, if this works, imagine, Mr. Ndebele, how our economy is going to be, boosted, because now we are having even young guys that were going to be, engaging into these things. We are also saying, okay, look, we are now trying to do things on our own here in Zimbabwe, instead of always trying to, to be copycats of other people. We are doing our own. The only challenge now then is getting to start to have these parts, put together and have one of those engines running.
Okay, let's talk cost here. I mean, when you sit down, you do your bar diagrams. When you came here, looking at diagrams and talking about diagrams, what's your cost? What's your initial startup? So for you to say, you know what, if I get so much, we can get this engine running around the streets of Bulawayo in a year?
I'm looking at from the modification point of view. If we're modifying it will take between 15 and 20,000 US dollars. The reason being, like I said, even if you are doing one part, the amount that they require for that is, is quite a lot. So it means even if I'm going to be doing one part, I can be charged for whatever amount of items they are able to make at a go. Yeah. So they charge me that. So I'm looking at around 15 to 20, depending also on where I have those things done. If they are done in South Africa, it's even a bit more expensive. But if we were to have them done maybe like in China or India, 15, 20,000. We should be able to have an engine that is going to run. And then from that one, it means once we've spent that amount, because we already have our molds and our parts already. Now when we are redoing them, the expense is no longer going to be the same. Because now they are simply doing, it's like they're duplicating, yes. Yeah. Yes, so they're simply duplicating, and that's our part. That's our mold. What they've done is my mold. It's not theirs. So it means they are not going to be charging me again on top of those things. So that's what I'm looking at the moment. Yeah.
So I'm not a businessman. I'm a journalist. I've read ideas where people, sometimes they, you come up and say, guys, I have an idea here. So anyone who's willing or buys into my vision, you invest in this idea, and you get a certain share.
Yes.
We fall together.
Yes,
we win together.
Yes,
have you ever thought of such an idea?
Yes, I have. I have thought of such an idea. The only challenge is that I haven't actually gone out to seek that as per se for maybe one good reason there. The first one is at least I'm not yet covered enough, because I thought, okay, maybe if I had a way of patenting this so that the idea doesn't get stolen, it becomes easy. But the most challenging one, I think, is for one to be able to buy into an idea, they need to have something visual where they can see. So this is where I was trying to come from, to say, okay, look, I first need to have a prototype, such that when I talk to someone, we spend a lot of time here trying to talk. If my prototype was here, within 5 minutes or so, you would have seen what it does, and you'll be satisfied. So someone can easily buy into an idea which is like that. But that's where I am stuck now, where I'm saying I can't do the prototype because the things that I need are that expensive. So I was trying to find a way of maybe trying to fund it myself, but from the way I am, it becomes difficult. Like I said, since I was diagnosed with cancer in 2015, that cancer is one disease that eats up a lot of money. You'll be surprised. It's not subsidized. Not anywhere in the world where I've had to try to look for maybe medication from all over the world, because at times I would not get medication that I need here, and I had to maybe check with guys who are in America, check with guys who are in the UK, Australia, South Africa. Medication is very expensive, and they will tell you that's what it is. It's sort of like it's a standard, it's a world standard, where they say they just put the figures and say it has to be within this. Fortunately, the Indians, I don't know how they pulled out of that association, and they are doing things on their own. It's a bit cheaper from the Indians. But what I'm trying to say is, cancer takes a lot of money, because if you are going to be on chemotherapy, there's at one point I was using about $2,500 just on my medication a month. $2,500 every month. And it came down. Though it came down, I think I'm still on chemotherapy, but even now I'm still using up to about it should be about Because they reduced, we changed medication. It should be about $500 a month, around there. That's what that's what I'm using a month. And with that cost and trying to save for this, you see, it doesn't tally. You just watch and say, okay, this is an idea that I had. Maybe it's just going to go down the drain and nothing will materialize out of it. But I'm saying, before I die, if this could, come into life and materialize, I suppose it's going to help. Well, I'll be gone, but it's going to help the ones that will remain behind.
I mean, you talk about cancer, and we're going to have specifically talk around that. And someone would say, maybe what I wanted you to clarify, that you have come from the West, you are now recovering, because someone would be saying, but why should I be giving someone 15,000 who is dying of cancer? So your journey is you're almost now recovering.
Yes. Recovering. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. Now I'm recovering. Actually, if you are talking about my worst situation, where I was at a point where even doctors say to me, no, you just have 2 weeks to live. You can't live beyond that. That was in 2015. But as we speak now, this is 2021. I'm alive, and I'm feeling much energetic and much better, and I'm able to do quite a lot of things. As we speak right now, I've just finished doing an engine for this Nissan truck here. It's a big engine. If maybe I'm going to show you the video where I was doing this engine. Not doing it as in instructing people to do it, but doing it myself, So then I'm saying, if I'm in this position now, I'm getting somewhere. Besides the cancer that I'm talking about, I'm at a stage where it's called remission. It has gone back to zero. I thank God for all the provisions that He gave me, and I thank the Indians as well for helping me out. Because in 2018 I went back to India. I went to India in 2015 to have an operation done, and then from there I had to go back again in 2018 to have what is called a bone marrow transplant. So before they did the bone marrow transplant, these Indian guys, they gave me medication, which I'm saying it's cancer medication is very expensive. It's expensive. The kind of medication that they gave me, it's expensive, and the new arrangement there in India. But if here in Zimbabwe it's not there, if I were to look for that one, I'm telling you, I wasn't going to be able to buy it from here. But from India, you'd be surprised. It was affordable. They gave me the tablets that they gave me, and that took the cancer right down. It had gone down to a stage which is called stage 2, and it was stuck on stage 2. But when they gave me that, it went down to zero, where they could not detect the cancer in the blood. Then they said, now we can do the transplant. Then they did the transplant, and since then we have been doing some surveillance program where we check after almost every 3 months. We do what is called an M protein. The M protein is a measure that shows the amount of cancer cells that are there in the body. So it's showing that it's at zero. It's normal, just as cancer cells are there in everybody's body, but they must be at a certain level such that they are kept under check by the immune system. So that's where I am as well now, And I'm feeling, much healthier and stronger. Like I'm saying, there's a time where I was totally paralyzed, right from the upper abdomen to the lower legs, to the lower limbs, and I could not move, not even one toe, just to shake it. But now I can, I can actually move around. And the doctors were saying I was not going to be able to reverse this paralysis. But I'm moving around, like you saw. We came here, I was moving around, to fixing our one vehicle there. That's where I am.
So, finally, on the idea of the engine.
Yes.
for someone who would listen to the program and buy into the idea and would say, maybe I have a dollar or a cow or a sheep that I want to help you with, where do they contact you?
I'm there on Facebook. If they look for Sidney Mpofu, the Sydney with an SI, yeah, I'm there on Facebook. I'm also there on WhatsApp. My number is 0772 903 599. I am also on Instagram. But now the Instagram account I've forgotten by head. But yeah, I'm also there on Instagram. They can find me there. On the idea of the invention, there's something that I left out. I only spoke about the modification. There's also one where I, did a totally different engine from the ones that we have. So that one will need a different cost from the one that I mentioned, because I mentioned this one for modification because I think it will be a lot cheaper to start with that one. But the other one, because we are fabricating everything right from the tiniest, or from the balls and everything, the cost is obviously going to be a bit more, and it's something that has not been done before. So you are starting a completely new thing. But there is that one as well. All we want to do now is to have this idea of running on compressed air being tried first and used. So then we know that as we do some adjustments and all other things, it will be the same, almost the same adjustments or tweaks that I will have to make in terms of how I supply the compressed air and how I do the system such that it produces the compressed air for the one that has been modified and for the one that has been done from scratch. So yeah, it's those two ideas.
Mr. Mpofu, thank you very much for your time and sharing with us this interesting idea, because societies have developed because people have invented things.
Yes.
Everything, the car was designed by someone.
That's true.
It is interesting to listen to someone in Zimbabwe, in Bulawayo, talking about inventing something that can have a long-term impact, globally.
Yes.
And it is my hope that some people with ideas, some people with not only ideas, because what we have the idea, what we need is cash.
Yes.
So we hope that you get a buy-in and we have people who are willing to invest in your idea and see it coming to fruition. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Maybe before we close on that one, I don't know how you can help out on this one, because what I'm saying is in Zimbabwe we have got a challenge of research funds. If we had research and development funds where we're saying, okay, there's a pool of funds where people who have got ideas, because it's not only me. I believe the Zimbabweans are very industrious and have got a lot of ideas. And suppose if all those people were to have a base where they are saying, okay, if we have ideas, we can go there and try these things. Imagine where we would be in terms of our economy. So I don't know how you can help mobilize people who can, whether the industry, the ministry, whoever, all stakeholders who can come into this and come up with something that will enable people who have got ideas to go there and say, okay, I've got this idea. May you fund me.